And boom.
Hey, that's the join link again.
Hmm?
What you did it again.
Did I?
You pointed out the join link.
What the? Let's try this again. Delete tweet. All right. Did I?
Pointed out the join link.
All right. Which link is it then?
All right, I know. Here, I can.
Delete tweet. All right. Well, we are broadcasting.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Sorry, we're having a little difficulty here.
Yeah, we're having a little difficulty with my old age trying to figure stuff out. All right. Well, we are live. We're here with Jon Del Arroz. Welcome to the first episode. Oh, we got 3 viewers already. Outstanding. Welcome to the first episode of the Comix Conspiracy. We're here with Jon Del Arroz as our special guest, a best-selling author. We've also got Wenger, and we've got Paul here.
I just sent out a tweet that had the right link in it. If you, I added you and John.
All right. Oh, there we go. All right, we got you. All right. So let's see. So, like I said, we're here with Paul Del Arroz. We're here with Wenger. We're here with we've got his own project. We got Paul Dozier, who is someone I've been collaborating with for a few months on a couple of projects. And before we get started with John, Paul has a little story about one of our projects and Jon Del Arroz.
Yeah, I actually got in touch with Dave, all because John put out a pretty simple tweet, something making fun of Dan Slott, I think, and I'm all for that. And I answered, "Hey, artist for hire, I'll help you bash Dan Slott anytime you want." And then he sent me a DM saying, "Hey, let me see sample pages." But unfortunately, I didn't really have any, so I put out a tweet that I was looking for an author, and Indie Dave here showed up, and we've been pretty good friends ever since. We're already on to our second project, so turned out pretty good. Much appreciated, John. Tip of the hat I'm not wearing.
What are you guys doing?
Well, we got
Well, yeah, you go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, so he put out a thing. He's like, "Hey, I'm just looking for a quick script," and I had written a bigger script, and I had a little scene in it that was just basically a little fight scene. I'm like, "Oh, well, why don't I just fix this up real quick, and you can use that." Because basically, I had been hoping for an artist to kind of collaborate with, so I sent that to him, and he did the character design, and everything looked really good. And we put together it's just a little 9-page story, and it's we're going to expand it into a bigger story, into maybe a graphic novel, and then we're also working on a comic strip together, a kind of humor thing that we're going to hopefully put out soon.
Working on the third one now.
Yeah,
he's got a halo.
Yeah, once again, thanks to John for that.
Yeah, cool. Well, I don't know if I could really take credit for that, but I guess so.
Well, it takes one thing to spark a fire,
Yeah, cool.
All right, so John, you've got some stuff in the works. Why don't you tell us about it?
I've got too much stuff in the works. It would take me probably a whole 24 hours to go over it all, but I'll go over the stuff that's coming out soon. We've got Flying Sparks, the Indiegogo that's up right now, made $11,000 in its first week. So thank you everybody who backed that. It's my superhero project, a hero and villain in love, and they're dating under their secret identities, kind of don't know what they're doing in their night lives, and they slowly start to kind of figure out there's something wrong with one or the other, and they keep lying to each other, which is never a great way to start a relationship. So that's where I'm at right now. It's looking really good. I'm probably at this point, I'm not committing 100% to a follow-up, but I'm probably going to do a follow-up just because this has gone a little more gangbusters than I thought it was going to go. And so, yeah, I'm very happy with how this is all going. John Mullen did the art for the cover with Brett R. Smith, and those guys just did a killer job. And I've got Jethro Morales on the interior art. He used to work for Dynamite, did Green Hornet and Deja Thoris. So, he's just really great with like pulp action sort of stuff. That's a lot of fun. I love his style is just kind of like, you know, he draws very pretty faces, very pretty eyes, and he doesn't really have a gritty style to him, which I like. And that's pretty much where we're at today. My next stretch goal is at 12,370. And at that amount, I'm going to release a free PDF. I did a short 6-page comic with a amateur artist a few years back, where I was just using my character Metagirl, and then I was using the character Dynamite Thor, which is a Golden Age superhero of a guy who literally chucks explosives and is immune to explosives.
Kind of like Junkrat.
Yeah. So I thought it was hilarious, and so I paired them up as just like sort of like a test superhero concept for myself, and you know, it's pretty fun little short story. You know, just kind of a side thing that hopefully just gives additional value to backers. And I hope you know, we'll get there the next couple days, and then move on to the Timothy Lim print at 15,000.
Cool. So what's your comic about?
It's a hero and villain who are dating under their secret identities and don't know it. So
that's such a cool idea.
Yeah, I really like that concept.
Thanks. Yeah, there's a lot of like heroes and villains kind of who have that like sexual chemistry together in their you know, while they're in costume. You know, you always think about the Batman Catwoman, of course, and then, you know, Spider-Man Black Cat for a bit and things like that. But they don't typically do it on the other end with the secret identity aspect, and I think that's just a lot of fun to explore.
So they got to work to hide their other identity?
Yeah, basically. So you know, she gets beat up in a fight and shows up, you know, for a date. She's all, you know, just got a black eye and it's all torn up, and you know, he's like, "What happened to you?" Right?
It never looks good when women have to hide a black eye.
No. And she's like, "Oh, I fell down the stairs." So yeah, it's and hijinks ensue, of course.
So is it more humorous, or is it kind of serious with like a little bit of humor?
No, I took like just like the kind of, you know how comics used to be in the 70s, where you know, it was just, you just kind of had fun stories and kind of ridiculous concepts kind of happening, but they kind of took it seriously and still kind of developed characters' lives as if they're real in the situation. I took a serious tack in it. There's no snark in it, really. I'm not really the Dynamite Thor one that I did as a side thing. If we hit that, that's definitely a little more snarky on the side of things. But I took a very serious tone with it. If you read my books, it's definitely like lighthearted and YA, not super dark or anything like that. But and there's obviously a good amount of humor in it. It's also a very serious hero story at the same time.
That's cool. Now I know you write steampunk novels and stuff. Did you ever think about maybe turning some of them into comics or going with that?
I really want to badly. So I definitely, I mean, it's on the agenda to eventually adapt For Steam and Country, my popular book, into a graphic novel series. I probably do it like Flying Sparks, where it's like 66 pages, and I'll split the book into 2 or something like that when I get around to it. You know, I don't know when that's going to happen. My next comic project, I am adapting a book. It's not mine. It's called The Ember Warts by Richard Fox, and I'm working on that with the same creative team as Flying Sparks right now. And that's occupying us for the moment. But I am coming out with more books in that series. I just came out with Night Training, which is a short little novella. If you look up my name in Night Training, if you just want to check out my work, this one's going to be permanently 99 cents. So it's just an easy, cheap way to see if you like my writing. And it ties into For Steam and Country very well. And I'll be releasing the second full novel probably August 15th. So, and I'm wrapping up edits on the third one right now, which I'm hoping to get out in September.
Cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I have stuff coming out to the point where I could talk about it all night.
Very busy man.
Keep yourself busy.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like, I don't know. I like the kind of like the old pulp authors and kind of the way it used to be. And if you look at like what really transcended and stood the test of time, it's, you know, stuff like Stan Lee, where Stan Lee was, you know, I mean, how many books a month was he coming out with for a while, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's right. That's what got him out there, was the guy was just able to pump out creative concepts so fast. And if you look at somebody like Chuck Dixon now, he's kind of like a modern Stan Lee in the amount of work he does. He gets stuff out so fast, and I think I think it's fun for audiences because you've always got some new content, and it's fun for me because I'm keeping everything fresh all the time.
Yeah, like Stephen King, like in the 80s and 90s, used to put out a book every 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
It seemed like he kind of ran out of ideas at some point.
Yeah, he was. I think wasn't he in a car accident or something like that? I think.
Yeah, he got hit by a van while he was walking his dog or something.
Yeah, I think it. I think that like just changed something in him, sadly. But those sort of things happen.
Yeah.
He's also suffering from very bad tramp derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So let's see. Oh, I know. I want to talk a little bit about the IndieCron you put out.
Oh yeah. So this weekend, I got to give the props to Edwin Boyette for this because he really was the driving force behind wanting to get like a nice aggregator going, so we can kind of track what's going on with the comic community. But if you go to my blog, so basically the name comes from Comicron. Comicron is a website that just tracks traditional comic sales. And so we made IndieCron for sort of like the Comicsgate indie projects that are up right now, so we could all track them and kind of see how they're all doing as an aggregate amount. We're up to $1.25 million in funding over the summer so far, which is crazy to think about. That amount of money. I mean, they always say that we're not real comics fans. I guess there's a lot of real money there
for really not many comics when you consider.
Yeah. I think that's between like 12 or 14 comics, so we're doing really well. I'm very stoked to have $11,000 for my first comic, and I'm going to make sure it's delivered in timely fashion so that people get it quickly and hopefully want to get to the next one and are eager about that.
People are just desperate for escapism now. Like they have all this money that they used to spend on escapism, and there just isn't any to be found.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is, because everything's sort of converging on like whatever the hot take of the outrage news is of the day. And it's just like, we already get that from the news, so we don't really need that from like film and comic books. You can leave us alone, but they just want to amp everybody up and get them angry all the time. It seems like, I don't know. I want to, when I'm writing, I want to break and I just want some fun. And so I hope that translates to audiences.
Well, I know that started a while ago because I've been doing self-published comics for about 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And I was at a comic convention with one of my graphic novels. And this was probably like 10 years ago. And this guy's like, "So, man, what's your comic about, man?" And I tell him, it's just a fun comic. I explain the plot. And he was like, "What's it really about, man? What's it really about?" And I was like, "Well, it's just a fun comic. Like, there really isn't a deeper meaning to anything I do." And he was like, "Yeah, I guess there's a place for that." And he just walked off.
Oh, sad. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody, or no, I can't remember who I was talking to on Twitter. Oh, it was Grand Comics, actually, where he did some video, and it's like, and I think even DNC did one about not every comic has to be Watchmen.
Yeah.
You can have, like, not every painting has to be the Mona Lisa. Not every novel has to be Moby Dick. Sometimes you just want something that's kind of fun and either a quick read or an easy read or something that's just entertaining.
And not every movie has to be Citizen Kane.
Exactly.
Like, I can enjoy like any stupid movie, just sit down and eat some popcorn. I don't care.
Sometimes you just want a little brain candy.
Yeah. Just turn it off for a minute.
And the real problem is, Watchmen has its place because it, was Alan Moore's crazy mind creation. I mean, if you're trying to just mimic that, it doesn't even accomplish what Watchmen can accomplish anyway. So it's like it's almost moot to go for that. I think, and most writers don't tend to go for that sort of thing when they create that sort of thing. They just like happen to create it, right?
Yeah.
And it's an accident.
If you're trying to be Alan Moore, you're not going to be Alan Moore.
Right, exactly.
It's impossible.
Nobody gets to the top by following the other guy.
No.
It's like, if you're a musician and you want to be like the Beatles, instead of copying the Beatles, find out who they were trying to be like, and then you're going to be more like them, and then you can take from them as well and build on it.
Yeah, and I'm building on the stuff that I like. I'm really into, like, you know, Chuck Dixon's like Robin in the '90s, and I'm into Brian Q. Miller's Batgirl with Stephanie Brown. So I added a lot of that in there. I added a lot of the Spider Girl from Tom DeFalco, like sort of just, you know, lightheartedness and character elements, and kind of those you know, deeper elements that they used to progress when they had a Spider-Man character. And just kind of mashed them all together and made my own world, just so I could make a character that progressed and tell a story that you know, comes to a very exciting climax.
Well, that's cool. All right, now we're going to get into it. Does anybody, John, do you have any like odd experiences, any strange things that have happened to you?
I don't know.
Yeah, I told a ghost story last time, so I guess that's going to be like the theme of this show now.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything like that. I definitely know I feel spiritual presences a lot of the time. So I definitely can get a sense when I'm in a room, like if there's like this like heavy foreboding presence. I don't know if you want to call that a spirit or demon or you know, satanic presence or whatever. I can sense when that's there.
Have you ever been somewhere that felt like really heavy on it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And likewise, I've felt when it's the opposite sort of presence. And I'd say the closest thing I ever came to seeing something is I'm actually a keyboardist from my local church, and you know, I definitely was feeling a presence around us when we were practicing one day, and I swear I saw like just somebody just moving just out the corner of my eye real quick, and you know, kind of there, like I stand in one spot on the stage and there's like a big cross over there. I swear something was just there. You know, when I looked, it was gone. That's about as close as it's come.
All right, my dad died in 2006. My dad died in 2006, and every once in a while on my dad's birthday, it doesn't happen to me. Like my mom told me one time she was at the bank and it was my dad's birthday, and she didn't even realize what the date was, and some guy just randomly walked up to her. Hey, can you tell me what day is today? And she was like, oh, it's March 10th. And she's like, it's weird because nobody has ever done that. Just randomly walked up to her and asked her the date. And it just happened to be my dad's birthday. And every once in a while, she tells me sometimes she can feel her parents in the room, and she's told me she can feel my dad in the room as well.
Cool. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think there's enough experiences like this that there's definitely some other realm that's close to ours at the very least. You know,
I was thinking about something. You guys can tell me what you think about this. Like a lot of hauntings, you know, when somebody died in some brutal way, or like a prison or something. Do you think it's possible that you could have such intense emotions that it like marks a place, and then people can feel that feeling from then on?
I think it's kind of a cart before the horse kind of thing. I believe in the Bible and stuff. And to me, when you die, you either go to, you know, where it says you're going to go, one place or the other.
Yeah.
But I think that there are some things, there are demons and stuff like that. And especially if something really violent happens, it could be because that presence was already there.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Oh, that's interesting.
If you feel like there's a dark presence because of something tragic that happened there, it could be that presence was already there. That's just my theory.
Yeah, that actually makes more sense than what I was thinking.
Well, what were you thinking? What was your theory?
Well, like what I said, like maybe you could have such intense emotions that it like makes an imprint on that place. Like at a funeral home, you know, people go there and they're mourning, and then you always think the old funeral homes might be haunted, but maybe you're just feeling that despair that all those hundreds or thousands of people felt.
Yeah, well, there's also kind of a psychological thing because you're at a funeral home,
Right.
and since you're always thinking about death, and it's a place you associate with death, and you never know, you never know what's actually hanging out there.
Do you have a story, Paul?
Man, I tell you, the house I grew up in was crazy. We had stuff flying all over the place when I was a kid. I remember one time walking into the kitchen. My mother was on the far side of the kitchen. I was on this side, and we spoke something to one another, and then a glass between the two of us just flew into the floor. I remember pliers constantly falling from places you wouldn't expect them to. The house I grew up in as a kid, I mean, we never called in a paranormal investigator or anything. No one ever got hurt, but it was a crazy place. I wasn't sad to see it go when we moved out when I was 11.
But you didn't feel threatened?
I mean, I was a kid. What do I know about threatened from back then, 35 years ago? But I do remember one that really scared us all. We had a prayer that was on like a poster, but it was framed. And it sat on above my mother's television my whole life. And one night it just seemed to hover from the wall and then fell. And after that, we moved out about 6 months later and moved into the country where everything was peaceful except for all the racists.
Get away from them stoops.
Yeah. No double entendre intended, I hope.
So did you all see that movie, Amityville Horror?
I saw the original.
Did you you know the story that's all based on?
Yeah, there was this show that used to come on called In Search of with Leonard Nimoy. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah, I've caught a couple episodes of that.
They did a whole episode about Amityville.
The background for that was there was a murder that actually happened in the house before the other people moved in, and I guess the kid that did it, he's I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. One of the kids that lived in the house, the guy that was the father when all this stuff was supposedly going on, he was their stepfather or something. And one of the kids said that he used to like worship the devil and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So whatever happened in the house may have had something to do with the dad himself that lived there before they ran off. Because he said he said there was one thing like with the flying tools. So there was one time he was in the garage and he was working with the guy, and the guy used to scare the crap out of him, just the way he was. And so there was one time they're working in the garage and he was like, "Oh, I need this wrench," and he just kind of reached out and the thing flew at him and he caught it, like it was the Force or something.
Well, the In Search of episode, they said that there was some kind of entity that would communicate with them, and it said its name was Jody. That's all I remember about that.
If you look at some of the pictures during the investigation, the crime scene after they left or something, in one of the pictures on the porch, there's a little boy. It's sort of I was looking at online as I was researching it a while ago. There's one picture the police took, and there's just this little boy. Nobody knows who it was just sitting there on the porch looking through the railings, and it was clear as day. It wasn't like a little shadow or a thing of light. It was clearly like a little boy.
Spoopy.
Interesting.
Always.
That was actually, as a kid, the original was one of the scariest movies I ever saw. There's the one scene where she looks out the kitchen window and you just see the two eyes there, and that scene just terrified the crap out of me.
Anything that's got demons in it scares the poop out of me. It keeps me awake. I'll have nightmares. I don't mess with that stuff.
Yeah, it's not fun. I don't like to watch many horror films in general, just because I don't know. I don't want to think about that or anything. I just and I don't really want to get into like negative emotional states. I try to keep myself positive, so I work. I've got you've heard of all my projects earlier, so I tend to stay away from that sort of stuff just so I don't get myself into I guess a rut.
Well, you can get, well, I don't, like I said, I believe in the Bible and stuff. You can get in a mindset where if you're thinking about that all the time, it kind of attracts that to you.
Yeah.
They talk about, in the movies, it's like, magic words and blah, 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 blah. But I don't think it takes magic words. I think it just takes intent.
Correct. I agree with you there. And, I try to focus on things that are just, I guess more edifying and helpful towards my life and towards that of my family. So, but I mean, as TV's gotten more violent and more just sexualized and more crazy, I've just found myself thinking out of almost everything.
Well, TV's really just for papas at this point anyway. Like, who really watches TV anymore?
Yeah, I have cable, but I never watch it. I mean, we have it just because it's cheaper to get our internet with the cable.
Yeah, that's the only reason we have it.
I just use it. I watch baseball. That's it.
I watch Ancient Aliens and Tucker Carlson and DuckTales.
That's a good combo.
I had to stop watching baseball because I live in the Rangers area. So
oh yeah, we're beating up on you.
It's too heartbreaking, man. It's too heartbreaking to watch the Rangers
all the time.
We don't have a baseball team. I live in Knoxville, so anybody that likes baseball around here, they're usually for the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I was just out there about a month ago, about 3 hours from you. So.
Oh yeah, where were you at?
I was in Nashville and Tennessee and
oh yeah, Nashville's gravy.
Yeah, I want to move to Nashville. It's beautiful.
Did you have a good time while you were there?
Oh yeah, that was my second time there, so I'm excited. Hopefully, I get to go back next year too.
If you're going to do the con circuit, there's some really good conventions in Nashville.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Look at that.
It's a little. I think con wise, like set up and have a table and all that. Is like just flying out there's a little too expensive for to make it worthwhile right now. But I don't know. Give it a year or two, and it might work out.
Well, you should be at the point now that you're well known enough that you could get invited to some if you ask them like they would bring you.
Yeah, it's true. So if you know any con organizers, let me know. Yeah,
I think they want to do a World Con. Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, I'm not going to be invited to that one. Anything soon. Yeah, but they don't sell books anyway at those. So.
Gotta try to come to Dallas Fan Days.
Yeah, there's a couple good Dallas ones. I really like going out to Dallas too. That's one of my favorite spots.
They have the Sci-Fi Expo here, and they have the Fan Days. That's the big one that happens, I think, a couple times a year. But the one in the fall, man, they always go all out for the guests. I missed it this year, but man, I wanted to go.
Oh, cool.
So you're in Texas, Paul?
Yeah, North Texas.
Have you met Tim Liam before?
No, he lives in South Texas. I'd like to meet him, though.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Indeed. I'd like to pet the bunny.
Yeah, I don't think that he would appreciate that.
Wow.
He's
we got 5 viewers in the chat. We got Scotty Richards. How's it going? Thanks for showing up anyway. If anybody's got any stories, like I said, we got a line open.
Are you going to invite him?
Yeah, I wish I had something better for you guys. I'm not that's just not my forte on the stories. I used to listen to a lot of Coast to Coast AM, as I was younger.
I'll tell you a story.
My wife's cousin was just on it.
Yeah.
Let's hear this.
So he was in the Navy, and when he was out on his ship, I forget what ship it was, just on one of his tours of duty. They were just out in the middle of the ocean, and all these, like he said, they had 3 days where all these strange discs were just kind of flying around that they didn't know what they were, and they just like they kept showing up, disappearing, and then showing up again for like 3 days. And he's like, everybody on the ship knew it. Everybody on the ship seen it. And you know, he didn't come out about it at the time because he was just so scared of losing his job or whatever. There was kind of like a hush campaign about it, but you know, now he's all about it and all about just telling what he saw. There's very interesting stuff. I you know, he has no idea what it possibly could have been. And out in the middle of the ocean like that, that's really strange.
Yeah, you see a lot of kind of weird stuff out in the ocean. I was in the Navy, and, but the only UFO that, or what I would classify as a UFO that I ever saw, I was actually in Border Patrol. We were out at night, and we were, you know, just kind of sitting on the border waiting for people to cross. And I happened to look up in the sky, and there was 2 lights, and they were, I don't know, if you spread your fingers apart, they're about that far apart if you're looking up at the sky. And they were both, there was no blinking. It didn't look like an airplane, but they're both traveling in the same direction, the same speed, maintaining the same distance. And I watched them go like all the way across the sky, and they weren't getting any closer, any further apart. They were just, you know, these 2 lights maintaining. And I was like, what the heck? That was kind of weird. And I kind of blew it off. I was like, oh, maybe I'm seeing stuff. And the next day, I was talking to one of the other guys that I was out with, and he was a couple miles away at the time, but we were doing the same thing. He was like, man, I saw these 2 lights. I'm like, and I described exactly what I saw. And he was like, is that what you saw? And he's like, yeah, I saw the same thing. It was just really weird because, like, if you see planes, they don't fly in exactly the same direction, you know, exactly the same distance apart the whole time. That was about the weirdest kind of UFO-y thing I've seen.
That's dope.
Wow. Crazy. I think with drones now and everything, I mean, just think about the government, like what the Russian government and the Chinese governments must have, like, you know, just technology wise that we aren't allowed to see, you know, and with drones and all that. I mean, you know, there's so many opportunities for UFOs, and we you know, how long have they had this kind of technology, and how long has it been out there? Who knows?
Well, yeah, like, they might be 10 years ahead in the government.
Yeah.
More importantly, where's my jetpack?
Yeah, exactly.
You can get a jetpack. It just sucks. It's not really that great.
Well, they got those.
I think those would lift my big butt.
Yeah.
They got those water jetpacks now. Have you seen those?
Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
they do.
The SR-71 Blackbird, the big like super bomber, or the super fast bomber, that was like, before they declassified it and let anybody know about it, I think it had already been in operation for like 20 years.
Right.
So when we first learned about it and saw how like amazing it was, the thing had already been operating for 20 years. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows what they're running now, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Probably some pretty cool stuff.
Probably stuff that would blow your mind. Well, you know, Knoxville is really close to Y-12, which is the secret laboratory where they built the atom bomb, and they still do stuff there. And I saw this thing hovering above the sky one time that looked like the Shield helicarrier, and I was like, you know, that's cool because it's a UFO, because I never seen anything like that, but I know it was probably some experimental thing out of Y-12.
Where I worked when I was in the Navy working security, we worked with a lot of the DOD cops, the Department of Defense police, and all of them were previous local cops, and they were like retiring there, and they had all kinds of weird stories. There was one guy, he was telling me, so they were on the radio, and somebody put out on the radio, hey, I need you to go to such and such address. She says there's something with glowing lights floating above her house. And so everybody was kind of, ha, 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 you know, they sent this guy on a wild goose chase or whatever. The guy shows up, the officer shows up and puts out on the radio, yeah, I'm at such and such address, and yeah, there's something with glowing lights floating above her house. And that guy became UFO cop.
from then on. What did she want the
Crazy.
police to do about the UFO? I wonder.
Maybe she just wanted a record. I don't know. I mean, people. I mean, I don't know what they want for cops. Sometimes call 911
You
for
want someone of authority to recognize the thing you see.
So just to come
So-
over there and tell you that you're not crazy.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, that is there. You're not hallucinating.
I don't know how you
Could
write
I get
that
someone who's obligated to show up to please come and look at this thing that I'm seeing?
So, since we're on, the government stuff, does anybody have like a favorite conspiracy that they like?
Hey, Scotty says that he has a story from his Bible college professor.
Is he posted it or?
I don't know. I guess he wanted to see if he could get on the crank line.
Yeah, get the crank line. Absolutely.
The crank line. That's funny.
Let me see here.
We're going to take a call from the crank line. In the meantime, look at these cool cards I've got. You can have a cool card game with characters that you like from the Comicsgate community by supporting my Indiegogo. It's a commercial break.
Let's see if we can send him. Try to send him the link there.
Those cards are cool. You're running a campaign for those?
Yeah, I'm making a card game that I've got characters from all over Comicsgate. And this is
cool.
my character. That's all my Aldrake card. This is like a prototype deck. It's got just characters that I own. But the way the game plays, you get a team of hero cards, and you see they have different stats here. The HP, of course, is their life, and the power is their attack. So when it's your turn, you can attack with their power, or you can charge to use their special on a later turn. So every character has a special that does different things. And there's also, when your turn ends, you get to draw an event card that changes the game in different ways. So see, they can be good or bad. This one is a bad one. You get covered in imps that bite your balls.
Yeah.
So, and we're really just all over.
Send me a link to that if you think about it. I haven't seen that one. No,
Yeah,
not the ball biting, but the card game.
Well, I'm at Real Bebub on Twitter. It's my pinned tweet right now. If anybody wants to see the Indiegogo campaign, it'll be right there at the top of my profile.
I will check that out, sir.
Don't forget Cyberlinks on there.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I sent Scotty the link, so hopefully he'll jump in here.
Yeah, and tell us his story.
Come, Scotty, join the fun.
I put it in the chat there what my Twitter handle is at Real Bebub. If anybody would
I think
like
I have
to
you
follow.
linked under my banner you made me.
Yeah.
Oh man. So we were talking about weird coincidences the other day, and my wife, her sister, her mom, and both of her grandmothers, all were born on the 18th of a month. And when we had my daughter, they were like, "Oh, she's going to be born on the 18th." I was like, "No, that's ridiculous. It's all coincidence." Blah blah. So my daughter was born. She wasn't born on the 18th, but me and both of my oldest sons are all on the 20th of a month. So it just switched over to all the boys.
Just a few days later.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I've got a friend who's got the same situation in his family. That, like, everybody's born on the 11th. So it's interesting.
1-1 is a lucky number.
Yeah.
So it's good for them.
My mother's dad had a thing with eights. He was born on August 8th. He was in the 88th Regiment in whatever service he served in, and then died on the 8th. Eights.
Jeez.
Yeah.
There's something about numbers and symbols. Oh, there he is.
There's Scotty.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Can do.
Well, welcome to Comix Conspiracy Crankline.
Oh, thanks. This is the first time I've done a live stream, so I'm trying to figure it out here.
That's all right. You've got the floor, bro.
All right, you said you had a story?
Yes, sir. Well, I went to Bible college for a couple of years when I got out of high school, just because.
Oh, we lost you.
Oh,
You're good now. Oh, and he's gone.
No, dropped.
Well, there's the first conspiracy.
They're shutting him down.
They didn't want you to know.
Damn it! These globalists! I can't believe what they did to Scotty Richards Studio. I can't believe it. The damn globalists.
They're turning the frogs gay.
It's the Masons.
I'm a human. I eat food.
You know what it is? It's Ethan. I'm telling you, he's added out for my channel.
He just wants to keep anybody smaller down, like he wants to be top dog forever.
Yeah. I'm convinced to shut down my last live stream. I know
it's not enough that he's streaming 24 hours a day.
I met him at a convention earlier this year, and I got a little. Oh, Scotty's back.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I think I had too many tabs open or something. I was trying to figure out which tabs to get rid of.
All right, so go ahead with your story.
I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, I had a professor in Bible college that was kind of eccentric. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to get past this echo. I got like a delayed echo.
We can hear you just fine.
Okay. Let me see if I can. Okay, if that helps. Anyway, he would always tell us all kinds of crazy stories, and he told us a UFO story one time that he was out driving in the country, and he just saw this what would be a typical flying saucer style UFO hovering over a house, and they just kind of sat there and watched it for a few minutes, and he said it had kind of like a blue glow coming out of the bottom of it. And then it kind of slowly moved off and then just shot up into the sky, and it was gone in a second. And that was his story. And then later he told me he went to see a super collider. He went to one of these places where they had a super collider, and they showed it's been a while since I've heard the story, so I'm trying to remember. But it was like an exhaust or something coming out of this thing, and it had the same kind of blue glow coming out of this super collider. So he kind of put two and two together. But I don't know. That was one of the stories he told, and he was real big into stuff like the Book of Enoch and some of the stories that I don't know if you've ever heard about the Book of Enoch. And there are these stories of kind of like that describe people coming out of something that looks like a spaceship, and they have like a silver outfit on and this kind of thing. But if you look up the Book of Enoch, you'll hear these descriptions in there, and so he had interesting ideas about how to interpret that. Yeah,
for people that don't know what he's talking about, when they compiled the King James Bible, the Bible that we know now, there were like all kinds of like countless different books, and they chose the ones that they felt like were the ones, and they canonized them is what they called it. So that became the Bible that we know. But the Book of Enoch is one of those that didn't make it in, and it's a very strange book that describes what the world was like before the flood.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he was very into. He kind of sparked my interest in Genesis too a lot, because he had a lot of theories about the descriptions given in Genesis and the Nephilim and all these kind of things. So that was always like he was a fascinating person to talk to on this subject, because he would just go on and on about it. And he could read Greek and Hebrew and all that kind of stuff. So like, when he was talking about when the Genesis says the earth was void and formless, without shape, that first few lines, he said it could be written as for the earth, like meaning that there were other worlds and that we're going to turn our attention to this one. So that was one way he said it could be translated, but I've never heard anybody translate it that way. But that's what he said.
Enoch was when you look at those early books and they go through the lines of who beget who and who down the line, they talk about so and so lived so many years and then died and went up to the Lord, and so and so lived this many years. Enoch, they said he walked with God and then God took him.
Yep. Like
he didn't die. Well, according, if you read it, depending on your interpretation, everyone else says a specific thing. They died and then went to God. And Enoch, it doesn't say that. It says that he walked with God and then God took him. So he's kind of an odd story, and it's one of the reasons, other than all the different things that's in the Book of Enoch, why the Book of Enoch is such an odd kind of book.
I think he's one of two people in the Bible that didn't die naturally, or they were taken. I'm trying to remember the other person was. There was someone else in the Bible that was also had a similar. They were just taken. They didn't die. But yeah, yeah. There's some interest. The Book of Enoch has a lot of interest, and like. He had a lot of interesting ideas about, how dinosaurs existed, and like in the Book of Job, he really thinks that those were dinosaurs that were being described with the behemoth and stuff like that, and just all kinds of things, you get into Daniel, the Nebuchadnezzar that would be like the first werewolf description ever given in history. Oh. I mean, there's all kinds of interesting things that happen in the Bible that no one talks about. And so he would kind of bring these things up, or, just obscure things. And anyway.
Yeah, it makes me want to go back and read Genesis and Chronicles and things like that, because there's a lot of stuff in there that's it's really bizarre.
Yeah, one of the topics I had on deck was about giants. There's actually a lot of talk of giants. And they said there were giants in the earth of this, in this time, and men of renown. Mm-hmm. You get, Enoch especially talks, I guess, about specifically where they came from. They were the fallen angels that mated with women, the earth women. It was the sons of God mated with the daughters of men.
Yeah, they created hybrid beings called Nephilim. He was talking about that too earlier.
Yeah, I guess whenever you hear different things, you'll hear names like the Anunnaki, and those are basically a race of. They say they're actually humans, but they came down from that lineage.
Yeah, that's Sumerian mythology. That's where that comes from.
It's also in the Bible. Like they talk about the Anak. They talk about Anak and the Anunnaki, like the Jews when they were in the desert and went to scope out. I can't remember where. They went to scope out a certain city, and they came back with a huge thing of grapes. And they said, "But we don't want to go down there because there's these guys there, and we look like grasshoppers compared to them." And some people think, well, literally they look. We were tiny, like up to their toe or whatever, They were super, super giants, and I think probably it was more like they were really large, and it was just kind of exaggeration. So hey, look, we look really small in comparison to them. We don't want to mess with them.
You were talking about the behemoth and Leviathan. That's a theme that's in a lot of mythology, where the father god, like the main deity, slew what was primitive in the earth, like Zeus destroying the Titans. He was like taking out the chaos so that humans could live in peace. I think that's what that is like a representation of how the humans have tamed the earth for their comfort.
The flood, supposedly, the reason that Noah was saved, one of the theories is that his blood was never, it's a pure line. There's no giant or Nephilim or any of that stuff mixed in. And that's one of the theories as to why his family was saved.
Yeah. And God wanted to get rid of all of that
corruption.
I work with this guy. Everybody calls him Crazy Dave, but he's super into conspiracy theories. And he is obsessed with Sasquatch right now. And he always tells me about his Sasquatch hunts. And what made me think of that is because he told me that he thinks that Sasquatch is a Nephilim, which would explain why it seems to be like a physical creature and a spiritual creature at the same time, which I don't know. I just thought that I like everything Dave tells me just because it's so weird. I never know what he's going to say.
See, I like these kind of stories. I'm not really like a believer. I don't really believe in blood or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I would call myself a skeptic.
They're fun stories.
Yeah, it's just entertaining.
Yeah.
But Dave, like I said, he really does believe this stuff. I like to listen to his stories, but I'm like, well, that just sounds interesting to me. I don't really buy into it.
And oh, go ahead.
Dick Stone says, I'm enjoying the show, guys. It's like coast to coast, but I don't have to listen to George Norrie.
You know what? George Norrie's got the best voice. You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I like George Norrie.
Yeah.
Art Bell died recently, didn't he?
I know, it's tragic.
Yeah, it sucks. He was pretty old, though.
He had a kind of a weird life.
Yeah.
There was weird stuff going on with his son. I don't know if they accused his son of something or if they accused him of something. But Art Bell was. I much preferred Art Bell to George Norrie.
Yeah, well, I mean, Art Bell was the original, right? So.
Yeah.
I like the Art Bell, and I always just go along with whatever somebody was saying, because, people would call in and troll.
Right.
But George Norrie, no matter what somebody says, he takes it seriously, and he's just like, oh, yeah, really? And just eats it up.
Yeah, Art Bell used to be just a regular, like conservative radio host. And then he started seeing that he was getting more I guess he invited somebody on for UFOs or something. And he saw that the ratings went up. So then he started shifting. His show slowly started shifting and became coast to coast.
Yeah.
You know it.
One of the most interesting theories I've heard is this idea that, there's a flood layer in the earth from the Great Flood. Or there's some people think it was multiple floods, but a lot of Christians believe it was the flood of Noah. And but supposedly if you dig down into the earth, there's this layer that's created by a flood. And below that layer, they said they've found this, it's like an element that you get when you explode an atomic bomb. Like you only get it after a nuclear explosion. I'm trying to remember the name.
Is it
I don't know what you're talking about because it's
like a residue.
Episodes.
It's a residue, the residue of an atomic explosion.
They've talked about that on Ancient Aliens a lot.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of stuff about that.
Well, an asteroid could cause that, right?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think, iridium, I think, is what the element is.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And that's one of their the dinosaur theories is when that layer supposedly is where the asteroid hit and it went all over the world and made release that kind of dust.
Interesting.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
What's that, babe? Did you need something?
How long your paranormal cat is supposed to be about? How long is this gonna be on?
I don't know. We'll probably do it to about another hour.
Yeah. This isn't going to be one of those all-night things.
No, I'm taking off in an hour to see Ant-Man. So.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it yet either.
Man, I've tried 3 different occasions. I finally bought tickets 2 days ago. I said, we're going Tuesday night.
Nice.
And then about an hour later, Dave said, are you free Tuesday night? What time?
Do you guys live
Thankfully,
in
it
the
all
same
worked
area?
No.
Oh, are you talking about a different Dave?
No, we just talk on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you said. I thought you were implying that you were going to see it with Dave.
No.
I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
I'm taking off with another friend.
You're not too
friend
far
who does
away
live
from
here.
where I'm at then.
Who, me?
Yeah.
You said you're near Atlanta, right?
Oh, no, I'm in Knoxville.
Oh, okay.
No, people, if they like baseball, they usually like the Braves because we don't have a team.
Yeah, we got the Nationals. Is what we got over here. And I can't remember if I don't really follow baseball that well, but I know.
You guys just traded away your team today, basically. So.
What now?
You just traded away your team today, so. Yeah.
Have you ever been in West Virginia where there's that crazy giant bridge?
Crazy giant what? Bridge?
It's the largest arch bridge in the world. It's like over this huge gorge. It's like really scary.
No, I've been. I used to work for a company that built processing equipment, and some of the scariest places I've been were. We didn't quite get into West Virginia, but everything was oil and coal.
I got my mic and camera off, so if there's anything you want to say.
Yeah, so I used to work a lot in oil and coal country, just having equipment. And, I think as far as I went though, I was I lived in Kentucky at the time, but I don't think I ever went any further than the very eastern edge of Kentucky.
Did you hear me talking to my wife just now? I thought I had my mic off.
No, I was listening to your whole conversation with your wife. It was great.
Yeah.
She came in here. I've got this little switch right here. I thought it's supposed to turn my mic off, but apparently it doesn't.
Those things never work.
I want to give a big shout out to Noel, who I just learned is watching. Because he messaged me saying he's watching.
Peace, no. What's going on? Are you west side or east side? What kind of gangster rap?
Has anybody been to the Royal Gorge in Colorado? That one's pretty scary.
No, I've driven. I don't think I've driven through. I've driven through most states. I don't think I've ever actually been to Colorado.
I lived there for 3 years, and it has some. The Royal Gorge is I think you're about a couple of thousand feet up from the bottom of the Arkansas River. The Arkansas River runs through Colorado and goes on down. I think it connects up to where the Grand Canyon is. But yeah, you're just looking way down on these little tiny kayakers and canoers and stuff going through the rapids, and there's thousands of feet down.
Yeah, that's like what I was talking about. It's really cool.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go because I like hunting. I've always wanted to go elk hunting in Colorado, up in the mountains on horseback, the whole camping deal. Haven't quite gotten around to that yet.
And you can smoke indigo there.
I hit an elk with my car. Does that count?
You got you a trophy. It counts in Tennessee. Here, our law, if you ran over an animal, you can take it.
An elk does a lot of damage.
Yeah. When I lived in Maine, there were a lot of moose, and you could go to the local police department and you get your name on a list. And if somebody hits a moose, they'll call you and they'll be like, "Hey, you want to take it?" Because it just saves the state from having a complete stuff.
That's even weirder than what our law is. I thought ours was weird.
Well, I know most places, if you hit it, as long as you report it, a lot of times they'll let you take it.
I guess it is better that way if you actually wanted the meat for it to not just lay on the road and rot.
Yeah, moose are pretty big. I guess I imagine it would save them a lot of money in cleanup.
Yeah.
I've seen an entire elk carcass just rotting on the side of the road. It's like a giant horse laying there.
We went to Jamaica on my honeymoon, and there was a dead cow under a tree while we were driving by on our little tour. And I was like, "Oh, look, cow fell out of the tree."
We used to live on a lake we shared with.
Did you like it in Jamaica? We just got back from the Bahamas, so it
was fun.
Yeah, we had a Caribbean vacation too.
Yeah, Caribbean's nice. Actually, I did most of my tour in the Navy in the Caribbean. We didn't go anywhere other than there.
That was lucky.
Yeah. I got to see a lot of South America. We went to the other side, in the Pacific side, and saw a lot of that. But we never really left like South America or the Caribbean. So that was two trips.
Did you go through the Panama Canal to get on the other side? Did you go through the Panama Canal to get to the other side?
Oh, yeah. I've been through the canal 6 times.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a neat experience.
Nice.
Man, you guys all have cool stories. I got nothing.
That's all right. Maybe you'll learn one. Do you want to plug your stuff again, John? While you know,
I always want to plug myself. That's what I live for. Yeah.
That's why you're here.
I'm the author of Flying Sparks, the crowdfund that's kind of, I guess I'm like the first non-Marvel DC attached pro book. I mean, I got Mullen on the cover, but I mean, you know, story-wise and all that, and then on the interiors, to break the sort of $10,000 barrier in our little movement going on here. And so, yeah, that was pretty exciting when that happened this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Again, if you're new and in here, it's a comic book, 66 pages, a hero and villain in love. It's actually 3 issues worth of content. And I'm planning on an arc of probably 15, you know, as long as people keep supporting it. So go out and check it out on Indiegogo. It's got beautiful art, both interior and exterior. And and you've probably already heard it before if you're part of our crew, because it's, you know, it seems it got everybody talking about it, at least, right?
Well, you're making the rounds.
Yeah. I can't promote it on Twitter because I'm suspended on Twitter for the next 3 days still.
Really?
So, yeah, that's why
I'll tweet it for you.
Thanks. I've been off Twitter. They got me about 4 days ago, right as this was kind of taken off, and it was kind of a bummer. But that's the. I definitely need everybody's tweets to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, I bet they're going to be clamping down and suspending a lot more people with the election coming up.
Oh, for sure.
Anybody that isn't towing the line, they better watch out.
Yeah, I got attacked by some people from this sci-fi publishing house called Tor Books, and they all ganged up on me, and then all kind of mass reported my tweets after they ganged up on me. So it was not very nice of them.
You know what it is? It's a comics conspiracy.
It's a comics conspiracy. Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum. Boom, 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 boom.
So random hit. I can't even believe they hit Marmaduke.
Yeah, it's 6 for a damn pen.
Crazy.
Is he gone, or suspended?
I think he's just I don't know. I just heard about it today. So I
Well,
guess
he did a video about it on his YouTube channel, and what he said was that he doesn't have the phone that account was connected to anymore, so he's not sure that even if he could get it unbanned, he doesn't know how to, because he has no way to prove that he's who he is.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right.
But he got banned for changing his display name to Elon Muskrat. So it was just a stupid pen, and they banned him.
Now, why did they hook up? Why Elon Musk? Why did they pick that name?
I guess a lot of people were changing their name to that. I don't know. I know that the stupid blue check journos don't like Elon, so I guess they were trolling him and saying that they were him. I don't know. The blue check journo class is a very special and protected class.
They can say pretty much whatever they want. As long as they say the right things.
I can't believe they banned Marmaduke. That's like kicking a chipmunk.
I don't know. I hope he gets back. I love good old Marmaduke. He was the first person that ever had me on a live stream.
Aw.
So he broke my live stream cherry. And
Yeah, I just refreshed. It says 2 days and 12 hours. So, man, brutal.
We'll be back soon, causing all kinds of chaos again.
Yeah.
Because Dick Feverstone in the chat said his favorite conspiracy is the one against John by the racists at Worldcon.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one. I mean, it is definitely, you know, I actually tracked it back and saw how it goes, and it actually stemmed. There is a cabal of professional writers who are, they call themselves the Codex Writers Group, and they're not names you would recognize. They're people who like sold a short story or two to you know, like Analog or Asimov's magazine. So they're really low on the totem pole, not really making money.
They're like the Daryl Ayos of that world.
Right, exactly. And they started around the time that Worldcon was banning me. They started kind of following me around and just kind of mass emailing people to, you know, defriend me, and mass. I think they mass email. You know, I don't know what happened here, but I know they sent mass emails to the Science Fiction Writers of America, which is the Writers Guild for professionals. You have to have a certain amount of sales threshold to get there, which is not easy to do. And they all kind of got together and emailed them not to let me into their club, even though it's a charitable nonprofit. So it's like, it's kind of a weird thing that they did this. So they were doing that, and they succeeded in you know, kind of making sure I was not allowed into that. And I think they kind of did the same thing with Worldcon. I don't know where Worldcon kind of came from. It kind of came out of the blue when it happened. But later on, I found out there was a lot of hate coming at me from this like writers group, and they're all kind of the same people. They're all kind of connected with the convention, and kind of all connected with the Science Fiction Writers of America. So very, very interesting.
Do they just? Because I don't understand how these kind of low-level people get this kind of power, like a Mag Visaggio or.
It's
Her team,
all identity based and all like political based. So in science fiction, it's a lady, Cat Rambo. I obviously that's not her real name, I'm sure, but she's like, you know, she's just like pink haired, you know, angry feminist type, and she just wrote short stories over the years. Never really cultivated a fan base, except for she cultivated a fan base of like editors at these small magazines, right? But no like real readers. So she doesn't like have her own fans, but she's got like the industry buying her stories constantly, and she was fast enough at writing them that she always had something to offer them. And I think kind of just dug herself in that way, which was interesting. So she eventually became president of this organization because of that. Well, she's got all these people at her disposal, but at the same time, she can't get hold to buy her books. I saw her last book came out, sold maybe 20 copies max, from what I saw in the Amazon rankings. So it's a very insular community. It's a very small community, and it's shrinking because they're actively litmus testing and like purity testing people to kind of keep them out. It's very, very, very weird.
Now, do they? Because it seems odd. Do they like? It seems like a weird, I guess it is a conspiracy technically, but
totally is.
Did they like just kind of gather as a group and be like, all right, today it's going to be Jon Del Arroz. Maybe tomorrow it's going to be this other author. Do they like, all right, we've got this guy, we don't like him for whatever reason, he's a conservative or whatever. Let's all get together and we're going to do this big campaign to try to get him deplatformed or whatever. Is that how it works?
It kind of took
like
place
an
over
odd concept to me.
Like, a website would talk about me, and then, people would start saying I'm bad, and then more people would start saying I'm bad. And then by the time I showed up on this writers forum, somebody sent me screenshots of that whole forum during the month of December, and they just they all kind of decided to just get on me at that point. It was very weird. Yeah.
I know in Gamergate, like, they had these IRC chats that all of these people would be in these big chats together, and they would discuss, like, this is who we're going to get, this is what we're going to do. And I think that it's the same thing now, but they probably do it on Discord or something.
Yeah, this is an old school forum type of thing. I was in the club briefly. Is how I got on there. It's like vintage 1997 when you get on there. Like, it's nobody ever bothered to update the website, and it's extremely hard to navigate. It's like an old forum type, like I said, and I got kicked out because they were talking bad about another writer who's a friend of mine. And I literally put on a thread, please stop talking shit about other writers. I don't like this. This is supposed to be a professional forum. And they all jumped on me. That was kind of my first interaction with them. They jumped on me because I just said, let's just talk about books and not about, how we hate this person or that person. So that was
independent thought. Step in.
Yeah, they don't like you thinking for yourself, man. You got to get with the group think.
I know. You get with the mob or get out, right? Yeah.
We don't want any individuals around here.
All these people that read 1984 and thought it was a training manual.
Yeah.
I guess Dick Feverstone says, if it's anything like how 4chan does it, there's a big assemblage beginning with one guy with a good raid idea, and everyone does it for the lulls. But I don't think that's what it is. I think they have an agenda that they're pushing.
Yeah, they got the agenda first, and they kind of like stew on it, and nobody's laughing. All these people are just very angry.
Yeah, it's not for the lulz, it's to show how woke you are.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do a lot for the lulz.
Hey, I respect the 4chaners. At least they're doing it for the lulz.
Yeah. And, I like to just do funny things. And I don't know, when you're so angry all the time, you can't even, you just can't even laugh. So that's the sad part.
Well, it's weird, like, because you see this SJW pattern. They first come in, and then there's different steps. That you see it when they take over something new, like they did with Gamergate, like they're doing with comic books. It's almost like they go down the list. Okay, we start here, and then the next step is this, and then we start taking over here, and then we start doing this and this. And you see the pattern they're doing it with Star Wars as well. And it's like you see the pattern everywhere, and it's hard to believe that people don't get together and plan it out and say, okay, we're already in this industry. Now let's start with phase 1. But it seems like a crazy like supervillain plan, but it plays out almost the same every single time. It's weird to think that people would get together and do that. At the same time, you see the pattern over and over again.
Well, they say social justice is cancer, and I think that's actually a good analogy, because when you get one cancer cell, it spreads. So what happens is you get one person who's into the progressive ideology into your office or whatever, and then they start bringing more and more of their friends in until there's more of them than everybody else. And they take advantage of HR or stuff like you can't say offensive things. And people are afraid of losing their job. So the people who disagree get bullied into being quiet. And eventually the social justice just takes over.
Yeah, totally. That's how it works. So, and you know, I mean, all these people were unopposed for so long, and they're still unopposed within the like traditional industries. I mean, if you look at science fiction publishers, they only hire their friends. It's just like Marvel and DC; they only hire their friends, and then they just kind of have their clique and try to keep everybody out. So, I don't know. I don't think it's good to run a business that way, personally.
I don't see.
We know from the numbers that it isn't.
Yeah,
That's the thing. I don't see how you can. I mean, obviously the numbers are going down for them, but I can't picture how somebody who works in a business and wants to keep their own job would essentially work against the system,
right?
And keep them employed.
We've seen the biggest movie franchise ever, Star Wars. We've seen a Star Wars movie come out this year and lose money. Did you ever think you would see that in your life?
They used to call Star Wars the unbreakable brand.
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy said, "Hold my beer."
I could see if people lost interest, like from one generation to the other. My kids aren't as interested as I was, but I don't think that as much because they don't understand social justice or whatever. But I could see if somehow it just lost interest over time because being so many movies. But that's not what's happening, and that's the weird thing. I mean, it's like they're bound and determined to burn the thing to the ground.
Yeah. Wow, I'm reading a thing there. I guess they're coming for 40K.
Oh yeah, they've been trying to get into that for a long time now.
You know what I see with the sorry.
It's all right. I don't know a lot about 40K, but it seems like it might be mostly social justice proof. Like it's just so hardcore. Like what could you really do?
Well, it's the same with anime.
God Emperor will not allow it.
It's the same with anime, I guess, because I guess they're trying to find a foothold into it. But since Japanese culture is not American culture,
right?
They don't. I mean, it doesn't work the same. You can go in and try, but they're just going to look at you. And go, what the hell are you doing?
Well,
they're
what
trying
they
to deal with the way the subtitles work, though, in anime.
Yeah, they do a lot of times. They'll screw up the dubs and make them say weird stuff that has nothing to do with the show.
Yeah, I've heard they do that in some of the translation.
And there was a big controversy whenever there was a Fire Emblem game that came out on 3DS a few years ago, Fire Emblem Fates, and the people who translated it took out a bunch of stuff that was controversial to Soapjust that they didn't want it. It was problematic, I guess. But people got really mad because they butchered the translation of that game.
What was that anime recently? It was really funny. The character's name was Black, and I remember it was all over. And it's almost like, oh, I can almost see this coming. And they get to the point. I mean, they go through the whole. I almost want to say it was a Dragon Ball thing, but I could be wrong. But they get to a point where the character Black shows up, and all the police are army around about to shoot him, and the guy comes out and goes, "Wait, don't shoot him. He's not black." And the way they worded it, because of the name or whatever, like everybody was like, "Oh my, I can't even believe they did it." You would think if somebody was gonna, if somebody was gonna get in and say, "Hey, maybe you might want to, change this around," you would think that's where they would have done it.
I mean, up until a few years ago, they were drawing black characters a certain exaggerated way.
They're still kind of
Mr. Popo,
Bugs Bunny way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I just got a new contribution on my Indiegogo. So if it's somebody in the chat, thank you very much. It's a anonymous contribution, so
Oh,
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Let's hope
Yeah,
it's the right
congrats on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. What are you up to right now?
I am at 11,126. So yeah.
Alrighty.
Sweet. I tweeted you out, John.
Thanks. Maybe it was your tweeting it out that did it.
Yeah.
You can take
No, I
credit.
doubt it. I don't have a very big follower base, but
You can take credit.
I will
It's
definitely.
better than what he's got going on right now.
I've got a giant follower base that I can't tweet to. Oh man, it's
Well, as
just-
soon as we're off here, I'll send something out for sure.
Are you guys ready
Can't
for
wait to
another
back our
ghost
campaign.
story?
Hmm?
Are you guys
Is there a
ready
ghost?
for another ghost story?
Absolutely.
Do the
Shoot.
ghost story.
This is a story that a guy I work with told me. So he said he was at a friend's house, and his buddy had this little dog. It was a quiet little dog, like it just was kind of there all the time. And they were hanging out, and all of a sudden he heard the dog yelping like crazy. So they ran over to look to see what was happening to the dog. And it was like up in a corner, and it was flinching up like something was kicking it. And it was just yelping and stuck in that corner. And this went on for like 15 seconds, I guess he said, and then it just stopped. So just some weird thing was attacking the dog, according to this guy I work with. I mean, I don't know. That's the story I was told.
Now, I wonder, within my belief of, basically ghosts or demons, whether animals can actually see them. That's something I've always wondered about. Because they talk about, you see dogs barking at nothing in a corner and all this other stuff. And you always hear, it's always related to, you'll always hear if there's an animal in the house, it like shies away from certain areas and stuff like that. And I've always been curious, like, if they actually see it, and if they do, why? Why would God say, okay, all right, the dogs and the cats can see the demons, but you guys, you can't?
Well, if it's the religious aspect, you think that maybe because the other animals are still innocent because they didn't eat the fruit.
Oh, maybe.
Interesting. That's a
or
good
maybe it's ionized energy and the dogs can smell it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
They do have senses that are different than ours.
Who knows?
Well, they can sense earthquakes and all that kind of stuff coming.
Yeah, there's all the stories about animals going crazy when there's going to be an earthquake or like a huge storm.
Yeah, I guess they can feel. Well, I imagine a storm they can smell, but earthquakes has like a low frequency rumble before everything really kicks off, and the animals can feel that. That's how elephants can actually communicate long distances, because they make a kind of low frequency, like a low frequency kind of hum that they can, I guess, transfer certain information to.
Yeah, elephants have a very complex means of communication, apparently. They're highly intelligent.
We were talking about elephants the other day, and supposedly when they look at people, the same part of their brain activates as when we look at a puppy. It's almost like they see people as little cutesy things.
That's funny. They do paint pictures for us.
That's another thing I always wondered about. If they do they know that they're painting a certain shape, or if it's just if they just like a certain color at a time.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of people like Coco the gorilla would do the sign language. Did she really know what she was doing, or was she just trying to respond to certain things?
She died a few weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago.
Supposedly, I don't know. They showed her pictures when Robin Williams died, and I guess she had met Robin Williams a couple of times, and supposedly she said she was sad when she found out he died. So you never know what kind of response they're getting, because they say certain things, but you don't know the criteria of how they're getting the responses and that kind of thing. You assume there are certain animals you assume have a certain have a certain amount of intelligence, and you don't know how much of it is self-awareness, and you don't know like at what level a dog has self-awareness or at what level a hamster has self-awareness compared to like a dolphin or whatever.
I think that a small rodent like a hamster is probably just reacting to stimuli. Like it probably doesn't really have any kind of intelligence like you would think.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder where it starts. Like it, I don't think hamsters are super smart or anything like that. But I wonder at what level of animal, and if it's just like wolves are smarter than dogs when it comes to certain things. But since dogs were raised with us, they have a certain they can sense people, their emotions and other things that a wolf just doesn't get. You know what I'm saying?
Well, dogs have kind of evolved alongside of humans to be almost like a symbiotic relationship.
I don't know if I'd call the wolves' attributes intelligence as much as I would call it adapting to the environment that they're used to. I know that, like, I've read a lot of stories about Native Americans being very in touch with the land, and they were able to tell things that were going on around them just based on the wind, the sky, the ground, and they had, and you can learn that skill over time, but it's an instinct that you develop or you adapt to.
Yeah, the dog and a wolf's instincts would adapt differently, because the wolf has to get its own food, and it has to do a certain amount of different kind of problem solving in the wild than a natural a domestic dog would have.
There you go.
Nice.
I think people don't understand like the amount of difference there is between a domestic animal and a wild animal. Because you always hear these stories about people wanting to keep tigers or something as pets, or like a chimpanzee, and they always end up getting their face bit off. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? It's not a dog.
I couldn't see myself doing that. It just seems so dangerous. I don't know. I came very close to wanting a bunny though after Timothy Lim's feed. So.
Favorite Stone wants to know, what is your opinion on pit bulls?
I think pit bulls are more or less. I think dogs generally are a product of breeding as well as environment. I think if you breed for aggression, exactly. If you breed for aggression, you're going to get more aggressive dogs. I don't think that most pit bulls now, there are obviously some, I think people do breed them that way. I think most pit bulls you find now aren't bred for aggression. I think people have tried to breed it out of them. So it's kind of a mixture of both, and I think one kind of feeds into the other. I have no problem with pit bulls usually, but I would honestly, if I knew that it came from somebody who I thought probably bred it for the aggression, I definitely wouldn't want my kids around it.
Yeah, as a with little kids who are kind of roaming around and all over everything, I wouldn't get one myself, and I'd be hesitant if my neighbors had one. But people can have a dog if they want, right?
I'd say it mostly comes down to the owner.
Yeah, the dog to keep around that's actually really dangerous is a chow.
I was just going to say that.
There's some kind of defect, that their brain, once they're full grown, it's too big for their skull. So they have a constant headache, and it makes them irritable. Like, so anything could set it off.
I've never heard that. I always knew I had heard something about chows that you couldn't trust them with kids ever.
Yeah,
For whatever reason that breed. I've never heard that thing about the headaches though.
Yeah, I don't remember where I read that, but it's for some reason it's just some kind of defect to where they were bred. Their brain gets too big for their skull, so it hurts all the time.
Yeah, there's some dogs like I really like the. You've seen a French Mastiff? It's a dog that's on a. What's that movie? What was that movie?
Cujo. Cujo?
No, not Cujo.
Cujo was the sacred horde, wasn't he?
Turner and Hooch. Those dogs, they're really great personality-wise, and they're good protectors. But at least in America, almost none of them can be born without C-section. It's just because of the way they bred them. Their heads are so big that natural birth for them is almost impossible. It's very similar with the way they've bred down like the English Bulldogs.
Boston Terriers.
And Boston Terriers, I guess, are similar too. It's just the way their head is and stuff. Make natural birth almost impossible.
Is your wife feeding you what to say? I hear some background.
Right. She's on the computer with Google.
It's Alexa.
Dick has some more stuff to say. Have you ever noticed there's a trifecta of LGBT rights, pit bull advocacy, and anti-vaxxers? I think pit bulls are just a target for victim culturalists. Also, these are the same people that can't wait for fall because Halloween, OMG. The interesting take, Dick Feverstone.
Yeah, my wife's a biologist, so well, she has her degree in biology. So, anti-vaxxing is kind of her like the thing she cannot stand.
Halloween.
Yeah. So, she's a big time anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, I guess if you want to go that, she's a big time vaxxer. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh, she's pro-vax.
yeah, she's very pro-vaccination.
Well, I don't want to get polio, so I would say that I'm for that.
Yeah, not one of my big things on my bucket list. I need to get polio before I die.
He wants to know if your wife lives pit bulls.
If my wife what?
If your wife lives pit bulls.
Yeah, she's got no problem with pit bulls, as I can tell. I've had friends that have had them and that kind of stuff. I mean, I've never seen one go off and be, but I know it happens. I'm not one of those guys. Oh, it never happens. Well, I mean, there's no absolutes for anything. But I've seen other dogs, you know, huskies. Another one you don't want to be around. At least you don't want to trust 100%, or like Akitas. And I don't think they have any kind of, but I think they're just kind of naturally aggressive.
Yep, me too.
You're naturally aggressive?
I know I've been very intimidated.
I guess the most common breed that it actually attacks are Labrador Retrievers.
Oh yeah, I thought those were really good dogs.
Well, I think it's a numbers thing.
Yeah.
So many of them. I mean, you're more likely to be, you know, attacked by something where there's a bunch of them. It's the way that's one of those ways they play with the numbers.
Oh yeah, they live playing with those numbers.
Yeah.
You could take numbers and make any kind of argument, I've discovered.
Well, I think Nurkish just posted something. It was an article about you know, women who women are working harder, longer hours than men.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
And you read the article, and it's like women now work 30 hours, you know, more than, and they used to work this many hours. And then, like within like a paragraph, it's like men work 45 hours and now work only 44 hours.
Yeah,
it's like
they fudged it because the increase was percentage was more, but like the ultimate number was still way less.
Yeah. And they've even divided the number, and it still comes out to like, there's your wage gap. It's still like 74% or whatever it is. Like, oh, you're not getting paid less. You're working less hours.
Hey, but they can buy chicken fries now. So we've established equality.
As long as it's in the pink box.
Yeah.
Oh man. Ever since I've seen that commercial and I haven't had a chance to go out, I need a walker.
That commercial was hilarious. I thought it was a joke. Like, I seriously couldn't believe that they were serious.
It kills me because it's like, oh, all right, well, you know, they pay more for this, which is, I mean, everybody should pay the same for everything. But it's like car insurance is for men is a lot higher, generally speaking.
Yeah, it says they pay more 43% of the time in the commercial. Like, they're trying to make an argument and they kind of discredited it. Because what's the other half of that?
Yeah. Or what? A lot of times they'll say something, and they'll be like, "Oh, you know, 2 out of 3 of the people killed by such and such a thing is women," and they make it out to be a big thing. It's like, well, that means 8 out of 10 are men. That's the obvious result of, right?
Yep. That's a hilarious statistic. Wow.
Yeah, I think what he's talking about is what they were saying. I saw an article that was like 2 out of 10 homeless people are women.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's the exact number, but yeah.
It was something like that.
The number for women was less, and they made a big deal about it. And they don't even mention the obvious. That, wait a minute, that means the other side, which is more.
Well, I mean, there's like 37 genders now, so there's no telling how they make up that other 80%.
I think I was talking to somebody about that the other day, and it was they were talking about, oh well, I was like, well, you know, there's either XY or XX, and they're like, oh no, you've got all these combinations too. I was like, all right, I'll go along with that because I know there are some people that are born with, you know, birth defects and that kind of thing. Like, but what percentage is that? That's like less than 1%.
Right.
And then you've got these people that it's psychological. They don't have that particular, whatever that genetic problem is. It's just they feel like this. Their chromosomes are fine. That's an even tinier percent of the, you know, of the overall picture of everybody that's claiming. So you want to tell me, okay, well, no, there's all these other ones, but yeah, but it's such a tiny amount. Those people should be, you know, taken care of, have their medical or whatever. I'm all for that, making sure that everybody's healthy. But when it's all in your head, it seems like it's a fad. All of a sudden, all these people come out of the woodwork. Yeah, look, I have blue hair and half my head shaved, and I think I'm a woman. I think in 10 or 20 years, we're all going to look back on this, and it's like, what the heck were they doing?
It's called Tumblritis.
Be like parachute pants.
Yeah, we can only hope that it ends up that way.
Those things are so comfortable, though.
It seemed like it was just 6 months, and that
squeak when you walk.
6 months, and it was already out of style.
Yeah, I know.
When are mullets going to come back? That's what I want to know.
When are what's coming back?
Mullets.
Oh.
Billy Ray
I could be
Cyrus killed the
rocking
mullet.
this skillet right now, like I'll have this big bald spot and then be long in the back. Can you picture that? Is that cool if you imagine it? No, we're talking about mullets, Snow Stall.
The mullet conspiracy.
Yeah. Snow Stall wants to know if we're talking about Superman.
Mullet?
Superman's over for a while, guys.
Oh, I heard that. I heard
Yeah.
that. I don't know how much of it's true because I always like say, oh, you I always watch, some. I mean, I like Umbrella and all them, but sometimes you wonder if they've got it right as far as what DC thinks about, or Marvel thinks about, certain things because they never cancel them. And one of the things I've been hearing is that they're not liking because Bendis's books aren't selling. Well, a lot of their books aren't selling. They don't do anything or say anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, they put so much into that stupid marketing campaign where it's Bendis is coming, and it's like it's a threat. And Superman's sitting there staring at you like, yeah, you better get ready for Bendis, bitch.
Yeah. Well,
Hello?
I think DC's in big trouble. We're answering the phone on the stream now. This is interesting.
No,
What is this conversation about? Hold on.
Who's easy?
That's Paul.
I appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
Love you too.
I guess he didn't mute his mic either.
I think he's about ready to go to the movies.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to nope out, fellas.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out pretty soon too because I got to eat dinner here before my kids go to bed.
Yeah, it's fine with me. I wasn't planning on being on much longer either.
This is about good, I think.
Well, the conversation is
variety.
figuring out anyway. I think. I'll tell you what. Why don't everybody pitch do a last pitch of whatever they're working on, and then we'll close it out for the night. Go ahead, John. You start.
I'm working on stuff with you, Dave.
Yeah.
All right. I hope you guys have great success with that. I've been working on Flying Sparks, of course, as we've been talking about. Hero and Villain in Love. It's on Indiegogo now, and it's doing great. Get in on it and push it to the next stretch goals. We're gonna have some great, even more fun stretch goals coming up, so you won't want to miss those. It'll be on for another about 20 days or so. So pick up the book and tell your friends, and please post it on Twitter because I can't.
I'm gonna back that the second I get paid, brother.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, what do you got going on, Matt?
I created a web comic called Dragoon Not All Drake. You can see there he is. I also have a graphic novel, All Drake versus Cronus Knights, that you can buy in my Etsy store. This tells All Drake's thrilling origin story if you want to know where the badass came from. All Drake is a crazy redneck heavy metal fan, and he has Dragoon armor, and he shoots darkness like a shotgun, so it's really badass. And I have an Indiegogo going for a fun card game that you can play with up to 3 friends, and it's going to have characters from the community in it. Well, I've talked to John earlier. We're going to have his characters now too.
Sweet.
We work that out. So here's the All Drake card. So this is a prototype deck that I made with characters I own. It's a very fun game. If you go to my Twitter account at RealBebub, I'll put it in the chat. You can look at the Indiegogo and watch some videos about how the game is played. And you can also see my website where you can read all my All Drake stories for free.
Cool. Awesome. I'm on your page right now checking it out.
What do you got going on, Paul?
Oh, I don't know what we're ready to announce, brother. We're working on our webcomic.
Yeah, we got one webcomic going. We're also we're working on a comic called Cyberlinks.
Cyberlinks.
Writing that right now. I don't know if he's got some workups yet on it. That one's going to be a little while down the road before we finish that one. That's our kind of big project.
Another thanks to John, though. He gave me some great feedback on those. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
Did he show you our 9-pager?
Yeah.
A while back, yeah.
That's cool. You got anything going on, Scotty?
Yeah, I haven't really promoted it much because I'm trying to get the whole thing done before I start really promoting it. But I have a 3-part story that I'm trying to put into a graphic novel, and I did part 1 as kind of a single issue. It's out there. You can get it if you go to you can go to ScottyRichardStudio.com, or you can go to DriveThroughComics.com and get it for free. It's called Escape from Zombie Earth. It's a Lovecraft inspired story, and it's a 34-page story that I did part 1, and then I've got 2 more parts that I'm doing, and it's going to be about 120 pages total when I'm done with the whole thing, and I'm almost there. I'm trying to get everything ready for possibly an October launch, and my goal is to get the whole thing done before I even think about crowdfunding, because I don't want to have to do any more drawing or any more artwork after the crowdfunding starts. I don't want to have to deal with that pressure. I'd rather have everything done beforehand. So, but yeah, you can see part 1, which is a self-contained story, but it leaves some open. It has some loose threads that have to be dealt with later on in part 2 and part 3. And I did part 2 and part 3. I've been working on those simultaneously, so it's. I want to get the whole thing done, and then I'll start telling people about it.
And you were actually on Ethan's.
Yeah, I was number 5 of the brutally honest portfolio review.
Oh,
so
awesome.
yeah, if
That's
you look up number 5, you'll see it there. But he said he was harder on me than he wanted to be, because he I was the first of the so-called professional caliber comics that were being reviewed. And so I guess that was nice that he included me in that category. I thought that was cool, but he was very nice about it, and he gave me a lot of messages that he really liked it. So
I've seen all of those videos, but I don't remember like a specific one because there's been so many.
Currently, you might know me better. You might know me better from doing the Jawbreaker toy illustrations. I'm the guy that's been doing those.
Oh, those are
Those
dope.
are cool.
Yeah.
And so when I started doing those because I wanted to sort of build up some sort of following in the Comicsgate community, and finding has been like I don't know, like I didn't even know anybody was out there that thought like I did, and finding this community, I was like, okay, I'm not alone anymore. And so that was Jawbreakers. Yeah, I kind of watched that evolve over the past year. I mean, I've been following DNC for about a year now, and kind of watching that evolve. And he kept talking about how he wanted toys and how it'd be nice to have toys of the characters. So I thought I'd try to give him the next best thing, and then everybody seemed to like it. So I've been doing those.
Yeah, those are great.
And but yeah, pretty much that, and trying to finish my book is all I've been up to lately. And I do some commissions from time to time, but I'm trying to scale those back so I can finish the comic and get everything done, because I'm doing everything by myself. The penciling, the inking, the color. I decided to make it color, which right now it was only in black and white, the original comic that I did. But I'm going to put everything in color for the graphic novel version of it. And it's a lot of work for one person.
Oh, yeah, I know. I do everything myself too. I know exactly what that.
I think that about closes us up. I'd like to thank Jon Del Arroz and everybody else who showed up. Thanks for helping me out. We're still finding our feet here, but everybody in the chat, all 2 of you, I guess. Thanks for showing up, and you all have a good night.
Thanks, man.
Cool.